Welcome to our tutorial on how to conduct an environmental impact assessment EIA report for a civil engineering project. In this video, we'll be covering the following topics: the importance of EIA reports, planning and organizing an EIA study, identifying and assessing the potential environmental impacts, developing mitigation measures, preparing the EIA report, reviewing and approving the EIA report. As a civil engineer, it's important to consider the potential environmental impacts of a project before it's built. EIA reports are a tool used to evaluate the potential environmental effects of a proposed project and identify ways to minimize or avoid negative impacts. We'll start by discussing the importance of EIA reports and why they are required by many countries around the world. Then we'll move on to the planning and organizing of an EIA study, including identifying and assessing the potential environmental impacts. We will also discuss the development of mitigation measures to minimize any negative effects identified in the assessment. After that, we'll cover how to prepare the EIA report, including the format and content of the report, and how to present the findings. Lastly, we'll cover the review and approval process for the EIA report, including public consultation and the role of government agencies. By the end of this video, you will have a good understanding of the process of conducting an EIA report and the importance of considering the environment during the planning and construction of a project. Don't miss this informative and educational video on environmental impact assessment. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay updated on our upcoming civil engineering related videos. EIA reports are important because they help ensure that the potential environmental effects of a proposed project are fully understood and taken into account before it is built. They are used to identify any potential negative environmental impacts that may result from a project and to develop strategies to minimize or avoid those impacts. EIA reports are used to evaluate the potential environmental effects of a proposed project. This includes assessing the impacts on air and water quality, biodiversity, land use, and other environmental factors. This assessment helps to identify any potential negative effects and to determine how severe they might be. EIA reports are also used to identify ways to minimize or avoid negative impacts. Once the potential environmental impacts have been identified and assessed, the report will include recommendations for mitigation measures. These can include changes to the project design, implementation of best management practices, and creation of environmental management plans. The report will also include a detailed plan for monitoring the environmental effects of the project during and after construction. EIA reports are also important for meeting legal requirements and gaining approvals from regulatory bodies. Many countries require an EIA to be conducted as part of the project approval process, and the report is used as a basis for decision-making by government agencies and other stakeholders. Overall, EIA reports are an important tool for ensuring that the potential environmental effects of a proposed project are fully understood and taken into account, and for identifying ways to minimize or avoid negative impacts. Next, explaining the steps needed to plan and organize an EIA study. The steps needed to plan and organize an EIA study include the following: identifying and assessing the potential environmental impacts of a project. The first step in planning an EIA study is to identify and assess the potential environmental impacts of the proposed project. This includes evaluating the impacts on air and water quality, biodiversity, land use, and other environmental factors. This assessment helps to identify any potential negative effects and to determine how severe they might be. Determining the scope of the study. The next step is to determine the scope of the study. This includes identifying the specific aspects of the project that will be evaluated, the geographic area that will be affected, and the time frame of the study. Selecting the appropriate study team. An EIA study requires a team of experts with appropriate skills and knowledge to conduct the study. The study team should include individuals with expertise in environmental science, engineering, and management. It should also include individuals familiar with the specific environmental issues associated with the proposed project. Developing the study plan. Once the scope of the study is defined and the study team is in place, a study plan can be developed. The study plan should include specific objectives, methodology, schedule, and budget. Obtaining necessary permits and approvals. Some EIA studies may require permits and approvals from government agencies. It is important to obtain any necessary permits and approvals before beginning the study. Conducting the study. With the study plan in place, the study team can begin to conduct the study. This includes collecting data, analyzing the results, and developing conclusions and recommendations. Preparing the EIA report. The final step in an EIA study is to prepare the EIA report. This includes compiling the findings, conclusions, and recommendations into a final report. The report will be submitted to the relevant regulatory body for review. Next, what is the format and content of an EIA report, including the introduction, methods, results, conclusions, and recommendations sections? The format and content of an EIA report typically includes the following sections. 1. Introduction. The introduction provides background information on the proposed project, the purpose of the EIA, and the scope of the study. It also includes a summary of the main findings, conclusions, and recommendations of the report. 2. Methods. The methods section describes the data collection and analysis techniques that were used in the study. This includes information on the sampling and measurement methods, data analysis techniques, and any computer models or simulations that were used. 3. Results. The results section presents the findings of the study in a clear and concise manner. This includes information on the potential environmental impacts of the proposed project and the significance of those impacts. The results section may also include maps, diagrams, and other visual aids to help convey the information. 4. Conclusions. The conclusions section summarizes the main findings of the study and draws conclusions about the potential environmental impacts of the proposed project. It also highlights any key uncertainties or gaps in the data. 5. Recommendations. The recommendations section presents a list of actions that should be taken to mitigate the potential environmental impacts of the proposed project. This includes recommendations for changes to the project design, implementation of best management practices, and creation of environmental management plans. 6. Appendices. The report includes appendices that provide additional information such as detailed data, calculations, maps, and other supportive documents. It is important to present the findings in a clear and concise manner, using language and formatting that is easy to understand. The report should be well organized, with headings and subheadings that guide the reader through the information. Visual aids such as maps, diagrams, and photographs can be used to help convey information in a clear and effective way. The report should be written in a formal and objective style, avoiding any bias or personal opinions. Next, the review and approval process for an EIA report, including public consultation and the role of government agencies. The review and approval process for an EIA report typically includes several steps, including public consultation and the review and approval by government agencies. When a public consultation of the EIA report is made available to the public for review and comment, this allows members of the community to provide feedback on the proposed project and the potential environmental impacts. Public consultation is an important step in the EIA process as it allows for community input and ensures that the public is informed about the proposed project and its potential impacts. Tool review by government agencies. The EIA report is reviewed by government agencies with relevant expertise to assess the potential environmental impacts of the proposed project. These agencies may include the Environmental Protection Agency, the Department of Natural Resources, and other relevant agencies. They review the report to ensure that it meets the required standards and that it fully assesses the potential impacts of the proposed project. Prior decision-making. After the review process is completed, the government will make a decision on whether to approve the proposed project or not. The decision will be based on the findings of the EIA report, the public consultation, and the recommendations of the government agencies. For environmental management plan. In some cases, the government may approve the proposed project with conditions. These conditions may include the implementation of an environmental management plan which outlines the steps that will be taken to mitigate or avoid negative environmental impacts. The EMP is a plan that outlines the actions that will be taken to minimize the potential environmental impacts of the proposed project. 5. Monitoring. After the project is approved, the government agencies will monitor the project's implementation and adherence to the EMP. It is important to note that the EIA review and approval process may vary depending on the country and the specific regulations in place. However, the general principles of public consultation, government agency reviewed, decision-making, and monitoring are typically followed. In conclusion, an environmental impact assessment EIA report is an important tool for evaluating the potential environmental impacts of a proposed project and identifying ways to minimize or avoid negative impacts. As a civil engineer, understanding the process of planning and organizing an EIA study, the format and content of an EIA report, and the review and approval process is crucial for ensuring that proposed projects are sustainable and environmentally responsible. We hope that this tutorial has provided you with a comprehensive understanding of the EIA process and the role it plays in ensuring the safety and well-being of our communities and